What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today you guys will be learning how to solve equations by adding and subtracting. And what that essentially means is when you're given an equation with an x variable, you want to simplify the equation in a way so you can find the x value. You want to find out what x is equal to. And you can do that by using certain operations. And in today's video, we'll figure out how to solve equations for x, how to find the x value, by using the operations of addition and subtraction. Now there are several other operations you can use, such as multiplication and division, but in today's video I will teach you guys how to solve for x by using addition and subtraction. So just like that, let's move on to example number 1, where I will show you guys how to solve equations for x. And here we have it right here, our first example for today's lesson. X minus 1 equals 17. Now, as I've said before, we want to solve for x, which means we want to basically isolate x. We want x by itself on one side of the equation. But if we take a closer look at our equation, we notice on the left side we have x minus 1, and on the right side we have 17. Well, if we want x to be by itself, we need to get rid of this negative 1 somehow. And to do that, we essentially combine like terms, or we just cancel out this 1. And that's when you have to think, okay, how can I cancel out this negative 1 so I can isolate my x to then get my x value? Well, what plus negative 1 equals 0? And the answer to that is just positive 1. So then you have to do this. This is the first step, which is where you add 1 on both sides of the equation. You want to cancel out the negative 1 because it's a number next to your x value, or your x variable, which you want to isolate. So all you do is just add 1 on both sides. And as you can see, negative 1 plus positive 1 equals 0, so these cancel out, and then 17 plus 1 equals 18. So then you end up with x equals 18. And that's it. You have your answer. X equals 18. 18 is your x value. That is your answer. So that's how you add to solve your equations for x. That's how you use addition. And feel free to pause the video to try these examples on your own if you guys want to. It's completely fine. So as you move on to example 2, think about trying this one on your own. But right here, here's our example. X minus 7 equals 46. Now, just like in the last example, we want to isolate this x variable. We want to leave it by itself on the left side of the equation in this example. We want to just leave it by itself so we know what it equals to. But once again, what plus negative 7, or negative 7 plus what equals 0? And the answer to that is just positive 7. Negative 7 plus positive 7 equals 0. So all you have to do is just add 7 on both sides. And these two cancel out. And then as you can see, 46 plus 7 equals 53. So then we end up with x equals 53. Now whenever you're doing these kind of problems in your head, you don't always have to think negative 7, for example, plus what equals 0. Just look at this number and then find the opposite sign. You got to realize that negative 7 plus 7 equals 0, which cancels out. You got to think of that as fast as you can, and then you'll get x equals 53. Then you'll have your isolated x variable, which will be equal to your answer. So that is how you use addition. That's how you use the addition operation to solve your equations for x. Now, as we learned about the addition operation, let's move on to the subtraction operation. And as we can see, example number 3 will use that. Well, if you look closely at example number 3 and example number 2, the only difference except in the value of the numbers is this positive sign. It was in the last two examples a negative sign, but now it's a positive sign. Well, let's just think about it in the way we have been thinking about it. Positive 4 plus what equals 0? Well, it's just negative 4. So now instead of adding, for example, 7 in this, instead of adding 4 on both sides, we want to subtract 4 on both sides so that these two cancel out. And now that we're left with x by itself on the left side of the equation, we just have to simplify the right side, which is 19 minus 4. Then we get x is equal to 15. So that's how you use the subtraction operation to solve equations for x. And it's essentially the same thing as addition. It's the same method, but you subtract instead of adding. So as we move on to example number 4, I hope you guys can try this one on your own. And as you can see, all we want to do is just subtract 7 on both sides of the equation. These two cancel out, and then we get x equals, we want to simplify the right side of the equation, which is 57 minus 7, which equals 50. And there we have it. X equals 50. And a good thing to do when you're beginning, or when you're starting to learn this concept, is to double check your answers. And what I mean by that is just to substitute your answer back into the equation. So for example, for number 1, we see that x equals 18. Well, if we substitute 18 back into the equation, we'll have 18 minus 1. 18 minus 1 equals 17. So then we'll end up with 17 equals 17. And that is in fact true. 17 does equal 17. So now we know it is true and that we do know that x is 18. So for example, number 2, we substitute 53 in for x. 53 minus 7 is 46. Does 46 equals 46? Yes, it does. So now we know this is the right value. Back over here, we see we substitute 15 in for x. We get 15 plus 4, 19. Does 19 equal 19? Yes, this is the right x value. And finally, for our last problem, we see x equals 50. We substitute 50 in for x. 50 plus 7 equals 57. Does 57 equal 57? Yes, it in fact does. And then we know that is the right x value. So hopefully from watching this video, you guys learned how to solve equations for x by using addition and subtraction. And if you enjoyed watching this video, please consider dropping a sub to the channel and also consider checking out our playlist on math. Thank you for watching.